It's a new year, and I've beaten the main game of my Alpha Sapphire Challenge run, so you may be asking, what's next? So, I thought I'd put together a bit of a video just to kind of discuss future projects just for this year in general, and also just to give an idea of what I plan to be doing after the Alpha Sapphire Challenge run. So, obviously the first thing I intend to cover is the Delta episode. I already started recording this, and honestly I'm really excited to get to it, because I'm actually really enjoying this just from a story perspective so far, so I'm actually really just interested to see how this goes. I'm really liking the epic feel of the whole thing, and the way they're actually doing a pretty serious storyline in a Pokemon game. But, just a warning, uploads regarding the Delta episode may be a little bit delayed for the time being, because... oh, this is incredibly annoying. Basically, the university course that I entered into for this year, suddenly, out of completely nowhere, the course guide gave no indication that they'd be doing this, but out of nowhere, they throw an aptitude test at me that I have 1 week to complete. It's due, this coming Friday, and it's effectively a giant full freaking take-home exam during the holidays. Yeah, that is incredibly frustrating, so I'm gonna have less time to record and post videos. That was really unexpected. They literally gave me no warning, just, here's an aptitude test, which we said nothing about. So, yeah, uploads may be a little slow at the moment, but trust me, I will do the Delta episode. It is probably going to be pretty short, just from, I haven't actually watched any other playthroughs of the Delta episode, but I have looked at playlists and seen that it usually doesn't last that many videos, so it shouldn't be too long, really, but still, again, don't expect too many uploads around this week. It's going to be very, very annoying. But after the Delta episode, obviously I'll then be covering the Battle Resort, just a little bit, really. I think there's a Wally rematch right there, but then there's pretty much, you know, not really all that much to do there. I just want to really show off the place, and basically, I just desperately want to be there because it'll give me access to move tutors. Finally, Trumpeter will be able to learn Energy Ball, and Dragon Pulse, but anyway. After that, I think the next thing that I plan on doing is, and I'm not sure what order to do these in, technically speaking, I definitely want to show the Elite Four rematches. I'm definitely going to do that. I may end up dropping my rules for the Elite Four rematches. Basically, my rules are going to be handled a little bit weirdly during the Delta episode, but afterwards, I think the rules are going to be completely dropped. For the Elite Four rematches, I might actually just buy myself a bunch of revives and full restores, but have a rule of no items in battle. I can only use the items to revive outside of battle. I'll still keep my pair rules, though. Don't worry about that. And my, yeah, I'll still keep my pairs together and stuff and only switch between pairs. But other than that, yeah, no more buying item restrictions, no more Pokemon Center restrictions, none of that stuff. Another thing that I plan to do is I want to do all 5 Master Rank contests, and then show a contest against Lycia. The reason for this is, I actually consider Lycia one of the game's optional bosses, and so I like to fight every optional boss, so I'm going to have to fight her, so yeah. Speaking of optional bosses, that also means I'm going to have to take on the boss of the Morville Food Court as well. That shouldn't really take too long, but I definitely want to dedicate something to that. As for what happens after that, now, I will try to show the final Wally rematch eventually. The problem with that is you have to get to a 50 win streak in the Battle Maison first, and you know me in Battle Maison, I really, really don't like that place. So after all that is done, I really can't promise when Wally's final battle will be uploaded, because it'll really just be when I get to it, basically, because, yeah, getting to a 50 win streak in the Battle Maison may take a while. I did manage it on my Y version, but I had to use Mega Kangaskhan, so pretty much you kind of have to use the most broken things ever just to stand a chance there. Well, stand a chance against all the hacks, really. But yeah, that'll be done when I get to it. Apart from that, I mean, part of me was considering doing, like, videos for catching all of the legendaries, and just, like, how to get them, where to find them in the sky and stuff. There wouldn't be any extra rules for that, though. The problem with that is, I kinda want a soft reset for good natures and good IVs on most of them, and that's not exactly gonna really... I guess I could record just my first catch of them, and then after that I'll just soft reset, really. But, yeah, I could do that. There is a lot of legendaries, and I kind of want to show them, because, yeah, there's quite a lot to do in this game, actually. Definitely a much better expanded post-game than the original Ruby and Sapphire, which I still think the original Ruby and Sapphire have the worst post-game in the series. Like, X and Y have nothing on Ruby and Sapphire's post-game in terms of terribleness. And so, after that... You might be asking, what are your plans for future Pokemon games? And I have a few. Now, since I've completed Black 1, no experience, obviously I am going to do Black 2, no experience at some point. Kind of annoying that I can't really find a way to do Memory Link, though. I would like to have everyone referencing Pirate all the time, but no. But yeah, I will do that eventually. Charon is going to be a nightmare, though. Charon is just going to be downright evil. I really don't see how I'm going to get past that one apart from just pure luck. But after that, the game should mostly be relatively smooth. The thing is, though, the game that's actually interesting me the most to do later, though, is Pokemon Heart Gold no experience. And the reason for that is Heart Gold is one of my favourite games in the series. It is probably my second favourite behind the original Black and White. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire may be third now. Yeah, I mean, Emerald used to be my third, but since they've been... Anyway. And yeah, I would just really like to actually do a playthrough of one of my favourite games in the series. I just really love Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I mean, technically speaking, I could do Soul Silver because I actually haven't played that game, and the vast majority of playthroughs of these games that are on YouTube are of Heart Gold. But again, I'm more of a Heart Gold guy myself anyway. I mean, I got the original Gold version back in the day. Heart Gold was the version that I played. So yeah. Also, I personally much prefer the Ho-Oh plot with the Kimono Girls to the Lugia plot. Ho-Oh just fits so much better with their whole theme than Lugia does. Lugia just kind of feels really jarring. Also, Ho-Oh has a far better battle theme than Lugia does. And the other reason why I actually want to do this is, I'm interested because Heart Gold in a no experience challenge would probably be quite difficult. I'm just wondering about it because Heart Gold's kind of interesting in that while the trainers Pokemon may be relatively low level for the most part, the wild Pokemon are actually extremely weak for the most part compared to the kind of Pokemon that the trainers use. And it just makes me wonder, how would I do Heart Gold on a no experience challenge? How would that work? I think it could be doable, but it's going to be very, very challenging. It may even be harder than Black no experience, actually, which is going to be very interesting. Now, the other Pokemon game that I would definitely want to do sometime in the future is Pokemon Conquest. Mainly because, well, it's kind of obvious. I'm a huge fan of both Fire Emblem and Pokemon, and this game is kind of a combination of the two, really. It's Pokemon crossed with a turn-based strategy game. It is admittedly a little basic by turn-based strategy standards, but it is a very fun game overall, and I really ended up enjoying it. Another reason that I'd like to cover this game is I would really like to give each of the warlords full historical profiles. I try and do my research and actually explain where all the warlords originate from in history, because there's a lot of very, very interesting details about them. The main thing, though, that's stopping me from taking this one on just really readily is the fact that this would be a very long project. The main story isn't really that long. The problem is that there is a huge number of bonus episodes. Basically, every single major character in the game gets their own episode, gets their own post-game episode. And some of these can actually get quite long. And not only that, but a lot of the post-game episodes actually cover pretty much the same ground, so it might get a little uninteresting eventually, because I kind of have to be doing the same thing over and over again. I would also feel compelled to show every warlord's evolution as well, and every single warlord's perfect link, so that would take a while as well. So the main reason that's, making me a little not exactly as interested in doing this game for the time being is it would be a very long project, and it might get a little repetitive towards the end. That's pretty much all the Pokemon stuff that I want to do in the future so far that's been covered. I might just give a brief rundown of, in terms of any of the other Pokemon games. Gen 1, I really don't like Gen 1. I think it's aged very, very badly. And I've already done a randomizer race on Red, so you can check that out. I was originally planning on finishing that playthrough, but then my old computer died and I lost all the files. Yay! So I can't continue that even if I wanted to. Gen 2, Heart Gold and Soul Silver exists, so I'm not going to do that. Gen 3, same. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire exists, so there's no point in doing that. Gen 4, I don't particularly feel like doing a Gen 4 game, only because those are my least favorite games in the series. Like, yes, as much as I go on about how much I dislike X and Y, I actually dislike Diamond and Pearl a lot more, and I'm going to avoid covering those games simply for the reason that I don't want to be fair to people who do like those games. It's a similar reason to a certain other Let's Player that I follow doesn't do a certain series, is that he personally feels that doing a game that he doesn't like is not fair to people who do like the game, so he'd rather leave Let's Playing a game like that to people who do like the game. So, because of that, yeah, I don't have any plans to cover a Gen 4 game. And yes, Gen 5 and 6 games I've kind of already covered there. So, that's pretty much everything. Although, there is a possibility that I may be interested in doing Pokemon Card Game 2, only because I do have a soft spot for Japan-only games that got fan translations. Also, Pokemon Colosseum. Now, you guys might remember that a while back I actually did record a full playthrough of Pokemon Colosseum. Unfortunately, a certain other very, very, very high-profile Let's Player just so happened to be doing Colosseum at exactly the same time I planned to, and, well, I cancelled the entire project because I just couldn't compete. That may be up eventually, but I just feel a little bitter regarding it, and I just don't really feel like going back to it for a while. But what about non-Pokemon games? And that's really kind of the main thing that I did this video to talk about, so let's just get to that. Now, one game that's been requested of me a lot, and that I have said several times that I would get to it, is Fire Emblem Awakening. And yes, being another game in the Fire Emblem series, obviously I did plan to do this game. It was a game that I actually did plan on doing for a long time, and really the main reason was that I kind of wanted to wait until the buzz around the game had died down a little bit. But a few things have happened recently that have actually made me really want to do this. Of course, firstly, there's references to Fire Emblem Awakening showing up in the new Super Smash Bros., meaning what better time to actually show off the game that actually introduced those characters. Unfortunately, a certain character who happened to be in Smash Bros. Is in themselves a gigantic spoiler for Awakening, which is really, really annoying. Yeah, it's kind of the whole Sheik Zelda issue. They kinda have a tendency to do that in Smash Brothers, but it's a little annoying. Now, granted, it's not actually that big of a plot twist. It's actually revealed a lot earlier in the game than most people think. But the problem is that it does mean that any people who haven't seen the game before are already going to know one of its biggest plot twists right off the bat. So, curse you, Smash Brothers. Admittedly, I was very glad that character was in Smash Brothers. Like, honestly, I really, really wish that character was in Smash Brothers. I kind of wish they were handled a little better and, weren't a total clone of another character, but at least they're in Smash Brothers, and I'm definitely going to be maining them because I'm quite a fan of that character. And, I don't want to piss any people off when I say this, but, I'm honestly very glad Chrom wasn't playable in Smash Brothers, for a few reasons that I'll get to when I actually get to the game itself. But the actual main reason that got me really inspired to do this is, from recording this video, by the time it goes up it'll be definitely a little bit longer, but, around the time this video is recorded, a few days ago, there was a Nintendo Direct presentation, And they revealed something very, very surprising that I did not see coming. A completely brand new entry in the Fire Emblem series is coming in 2015. Okay, yeah, when I saw that, I was like, holy crap, you're not serious, are you? Wow. Considering that Awakening was actually originally going to be the last game in the series if it didn't sell well, yeah, I'm very, very glad there's going to be a new Fire Emblem game. I'm very glad it looks like it's a completely new game with a new cast of characters and a completely new storyline, but it's got the same character designer as Awakening and pretty much the same graphical style, so yeah, it looks like, it's almost gonna feel like, yeah, you know, maybe like Sacred Stones in comparison to the original game. Hopefully not as short as Sacred Stones, but anyway. Yeah, I'm very excited for that, and honestly, what better time to do a playthrough of Awakening than the year when a new game in the series has been announced. So, I actually really want to get to this playthrough. Like, I honestly think that this might be the next thing coming after I finish Alpha Sapphire. And, like, that wasn't what I planned originally. Like, originally I planned, okay, I'm definitely going to do Awakening this year, but really, with that Nintendo Direct announcement, it couldn't come at a better time, honestly. Yeah, as for that new Fire Emblem game, I'm kind of wondering, depending on its release date, I might even be able to blind run that, but yeah. Anyway, so look forward to Awakening. It is definitely going to be coming soon. It definitely will be done in 2015. And you can all look forward to the return of Mary Sue, obviously. As for other non-Pokemon stuff that I plan to do in the future, probably this year, mostly they actually relate to other projects that I've already started. So, firstly, let's just get one certain one out of the way. A lot of people ask about Fire Emblem 4 all the time, and yeah, ironically that was the first playthrough I ever started, and it's now kind of been abandoned for a little bit. The thing about that is, as much as I would like to continue it, and I really do want to continue it at some point, it's going to be very hard to, though, because my old computer that had most of my save files is dead. In fact, 2 computers that I played this on are dead. And I do have some files for it, I think, scattered around on various portable hard drives. It's going to take a lot of effort to try and find them and try and pick up where I left off, though. But, I mean, I could get to this in the future. The only other problem is, mechanics-wise, it's very similar to Awakening. So, yeah, it feels a little redundant to do it right after Awakening. I probably will get back to it at some point, though. Next on the list we have Age of Empires 2. Yeah, I actually pretty much had the idea for starting that around this time last year, so it has been a little awkward in terms of when it's been coming out and stuff. And while I did very much enjoy doing it for the most part, the playthrough has the very sad issue of actually having to be put on hold due to real-life circumstances that just make me feel a little uncomfortable playing certain sections of the game at this point. And really, if I did continue it, I probably would actually just skip to the next campaign and just not continue the one I was actually on until later. Because really, I don't want to say any more, really. It's just certain real-world issues are just making a certain part of the game too uncomfortable for me, and I just don't really feel it would be in good taste to continue that particular section. The main problem, though, with this is, I would foresee this project going on for a very long time, because it's actually quite a long game. Individual scenarios usually take around 2 hours to complete. Every campaign has 6 of those, so that's quite a lot of time spent on individual scenarios. And not only that, but there's not only the Age of Kings, there's also the Conquerors expansion, which contains like 5 new campaigns. And yeah, there's quite a lot. I would not be doing the Forgotten because I haven't even played those for the first time yet, but the annoying thing, though, is that I never felt that big of a connection to any of the Age of Kings campaigns, except for kind of Joan of Arc. That was probably the only one that I actually really did a lot of. And the funny thing is, that ain't Genghis Khan. I did a little bit of Genghis Khan, but the funny thing is, this playthrough was actually the very first time I've actually beaten a lot of the Age of Kings campaigns. Whereas the Conqueror's campaigns, those are the ones that I really want to get to, and the ones that I could really talk a lot about, because the Conqueror's campaigns were the main ones I played as a kid. The Conqueror's campaigns are overall a bit more fair and balanced in their difficulty than the Age of Kings campaigns. Some of the Age of Kings campaigns tend to get really hard towards the middle, and then just like, they kind of randomly spike all over the place in terms of difficulty. The Conqueror's campaigns tend to be a pretty even progression in difficulty all through the campaign. They're overall a lot more balanced. The civilizations you use in them are actually, I find, a lot more interesting. Like, the Aztecs, the Spanish, and the Huns all have very unique gimmicks to them that a lot of other civilizations don't, and I just feel that they're a lot more interesting to play as. And also the fact that those were the first campaigns I actually started playing when I was younger. I never actually played the Age of Kings campaigns until much later, until I rediscovered the game as a teenager, so the Conqueror's campaigns are the ones that I really actually know more, so I'm kind of eager to get to those, so going through the Age of Kings campaigns just to get to them feels like a bit of a chore sometimes. Again, especially as they're actually considerably harder than the Conqueror's campaigns overall. But yeah, I may continue that one eventually. I just don't want it to seem like a dead project, but it does have its issues. But I would like to continue it at some point when I get the chance. Speaking of quote-unquote dead projects, I can reveal to you now there was one other project that I actually planned to pick up again had a certain game not be released. Now, remember around this time last year, I decided my Advance Wars 2 playthrough. I picked that up a long time ago and I just completely stopped doing it. I decided to go back and finish that, and actually that playthrough turned out to be a huge success. It actually got a huge amount of views, and at least compared to the other stuff on my channel, and people really seem to like Advance Wars 2 for the most part, and I really enjoyed doing that game as well, so I really like the fact that I actually finished that playthrough, because I just don't like having unfinished stuff lying around. Now, my initial plan for this year was to actually, during my holiday break at the end of the year, just like I did with Advance Wars 2, I would go back to a project that I'd abandoned and try and finish it. In this case, the plan was to do that with The World Ends With You. I really like this game. It's a sort of obscure one that, again, actually recently got a bit more popularity when its characters appeared in Kingdom Hearts. It's by the same creator of Kingdom Hearts, by the way. It's just a very unique style of game, and it's a game that I really enjoy. And I really did like doing the playthrough of it. I kind of stopped. I actually kind of forget why I stopped. I stopped quite early into the game. And the thing is, I would like to pick this up, and I was going to actually pick up the project this year, and then Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby got announced, and I was like, oh, okay, I have to do those games, and their release date was around November, which meant, that was the time I was planning on picking up this project back again, so yeah, that kind of wrecked that. And then with my whole Inspiration to Awakening, this one may have to be put on hold again, unfortunately. I really like this game. There actually aren't very many decent Let's Plays of this game out there on YouTube, which is part of the reason why I actually did it in the first place. Though continuing it does have a few issues, mainly my old computer dying. With that, I have lost my old emulator and my old save files for this game, and that means I'm going to have to play through the entire game again just to get up to the point where I was. Now, here's the other thing, though, that makes this a bit weird, and in fact might make having to play through the whole game again a blessing in disguise, actually. I had already recorded about 90% of the footage of this game. I have recorded pretty much everything right up until, like, pretty much the only thing that I had left to record was basically the very end of the game. So, I've recorded a lot in advance, and that's where the problem would be, because if I had to go back and commentate on that, I would definitely have forgotten what I was doing at the time, and I would have forgotten the stuff that I wanted to point out, because I definitely wanted to explain as much about this game as I could, and make this as in-depth of a guide to the game and its universe as possible. And yeah, that's a little tricky when you've recorded a huge amount of footage years ago, and you're suddenly coming back to it, and you're gonna think, wait, what was I doing here? So in that case, playing through the game again might actually be a blessing in disguise, because I'd actually be able to get a feel for how everything works again, and sort of rethink of what I want to talk about in all the videos. But, yeah, that is gonna be kind of annoying. Thankfully, the files that I do have recorded are safe. They're all off on like a portable hard drive, so I can go back and record post-commentary on them whenever I want. It's just that that's gonna have a few issues, so, yeah, just, this one might take a little while for me to go back to. And speaking of Advance Wars 2, the other thing that it's not really an actual major project. I did promise... Actually, wait a minute, let me just get the image up on screen. I did promise I would do some extra post-game footage for this game, and I will get to that at some point. In fact, I could possibly do that on the side with another project, mainly because it's not going to really take all that long. I don't plan to show off very much. Well, I mean, there's not much I need to show. What I plan to show is a brief look at Hard Campaign, the 3 missions that are unique and exclusive to hard mode. Yeah, basically the first campaign actually gets its second set of 3 missions replaced by completely new ones that are only available on hard campaign. I want to show off those, of course, getting S ranks on them, just like I did in my normal playthrough. And apart from that, I'm not going to be showing very much. I don't think I'll actually show off anything else in hard mode, because one, I kind of want to leave that to anyone who wants to play hard mode themselves to kind of figure out strategies for themselves on that, and two, again, it's pretty much just the same game over again. Most of the time, the maps aren't all that different. There are some missions that have radically changed layouts, but I'd like to kind of leave those as a surprise for people who take on hard mode themselves. The only thing I will mention is that for some reason, I find the final mission on hard is actually easier than the normal version, which is really weird. Apart from that, the only other footage that I want to go ahead and record is I want to show a couple of war room maps just to show off the 3 characters who you don't get to... Well, actually, one of them you fight against in the campaign mode, but 2 characters who don't appear in campaign mode, and one who, well, I want to show him off because I got all those S ranks in campaign mode for a reason. I might as well enjoy the, ridiculously brokenness that gives you. So, I want to record some war room maps where I use Nell, Sturm, and the final secret character, who I'm not going to mention just yet, but there is one more secret character in the game who you get for beating the hard campaign. And for that, I realized that I could actually just use my original Game Boy Advance cartridge and record it off the Game Boy player on my old GameCube. So, that's hopefully not going to take too long. So, yeah, this might be up between other projects when I feel like getting to it. It really shouldn't be too long, just maybe even like 6 videos at most, really. And regarding other future project ideas, there is one more that I have, but it definitely won't be for a while. But there is one more game that I actually would really love to do a playthrough of for the channel. And here's the thing, it's not really related to anything that I've done on this channel before. What is this game? Well, it would be a little bit of, you know, kind of a spoiler to actually tell you what it is, so I might as well leave it a surprise, but I'm going to drop some hints for you. Like I enjoy doing, this game is somewhat obscure, but obscure for the reason that it's in a series. And there's another game in this series that is extremely well known, I mean ridiculously well known. However, I personally like this game, its predecessor, much more than the more popular one. Yeah, I tend to be weird like that. It's got a spin-off recently, and it's a spin-off that I've really enjoyed playing. It is one that I would also really love to do for this channel eventually. And the thing was, though, I considered doing this game long before the spin-off was even announced, because, well, I actually really like this game. It is actually one of my favourite games of all time in its genre. So, that's all I'm going to be mentioning for the time being. But yes, this mysterious game, you may see it one day. Or you might not see it. You might not be able to. But it'll be happening. Let's just say it has the potential to be very interesting. And on that note, I'll leave you. That's pretty much all the stuff that I kind of have potentially planned for, you know, possibly this year or future stuff. So I just kind of wanted to make a video about it just to kind of explain what I want to do next. So yeah, next up will be more Delta episode videos of the Alpha Sapphire Challenge run. And after that, well, you know, this video's pretty much told you. So that's pretty much all I have to talk about. And I'll see you again next time.